let's talk about presentations. You guys will be given two opportunities to present to the rest of the group. And when you're presenting to the group, why do you have two sets of presentation? Just remember here this one thing, that nobody lose any point in presentation. These are just me preparing you for tomorrow when you have to go and present some ideas in front of people. So after every presentation, we want to be able to see, okay, what are the things that you must continue to use that were part of your presentation, and what are the things that you need to improve on in terms of moving on forward to your next presentation. So those are the two presentations everybody has to give. Why two presentations? Because I want you to build two sets of skills. So for each skill, I want one presentation. One set of skill that I want you to work on is being able to present and being able to improve from your previous presentation to the next presentation. And then number two is your confidence level when it comes to present. So your confidence is very important when you're presenting to a group of people. So the presentation number one will be, I will give you the details next week, but just giving you an overview of this. So your presentation number one will be about something you like of your choice, anything appropriate that you like to do, that you want to discuss with the group. It could be a hobby. It could be something that you like to do, or something that you want to share that you're excited about. People have come to our classes for this particular part and have shared with us their rock collections, pictures, or they have come to us and shared their. I mean, like we have had a somebody who loved to take photos, and that was basically his side business. He would basically go to events and do the photography for the event. So he covered that aspect of his life. So I mean, it's a way of some people brought here their favorite books, talked about whatever, it's open. What is the biggest challenge when I give you that presentation to present?
Problem.
Exactly. When you are so excited and you have in-depth knowledge, and this is something that you like to do, you have done it over the years, you don't know when to stop. That's the biggest challenge for presentation number one, because it is not the content are worried about. It is not the information you're worried about. The problem that you have is to confine it. And that's what I want you to work on, because sometimes what happens in meetings, we run into people who just don't stop. They have so much to say and they slack into other people's time. So it's very, very important for us to be respectable other people's time, because there will be bunch of people that'll be going the same night, and everybody will be given X number of minutes. So you got to be respectful of other people's time. So whatever you present, rehearse it and time yourself to make sure that you are within the bounds. So if you're excited about something, scale down, scale down to 10 minutes. A lot of the people are like, oh, 10 minutes is a lot. But majority of the time we see that most of the people go over 10 minutes, because when they start speaking, they have stories to tell. Now that's one more thing that you can work on. You have to be good storyteller. You may have an excellent story, but if you can tell stories, then you can butcher it. So something to work on. How can I be a storyteller in a nice way? All of these little pointers to work on. Okay, so on slide number 5, I will talk about so and so incident from my life that is connected with this point, and I will say it in 2 minutes, because I don't want to spend 15 minutes on this one point on this slide. That's where people get carried away. Are you guys following that part?
I get it.
Okay. So those are some of the things and then you have to pace yourself. That's another thing. You got to pace yourself correctly. Sometimes we are either too slow or we are too difficult to get. So pace yourself, the pitch of your voice, the pitch of your tone, and it will be different presenting on computer versus presenting on stage versus presenting in the physical classroom in person. They're different experiences. But you got to learn to use the tone of the voice, because if you are speaking in one tone, what happens? You make people sleep. So this would be a time for you to not only gather information about your subject matter, but also a good place for you to start looking at how to be an effective public speaking person. Now, how many of you have ever invested time in improving your public speaking skills? Anybody here in this group? Dedicated time to improve your public speaking skills.
In high school, I did, but not recently.
Okay, so what did you do to improve your public speaking skills?
Our teacher pretty much told us to like go home and just write little speeches and practice them in the mirror over and over.
Okay, good, good. So this would be a good opportunity for you to do that, because that will boost your confidence. That will give you when to pause, where to take your pauses, how to start your speech, how to end your speech, and a lot of good pointers, a lot of good pointers. So I want you to put some effort in that direction in this course. Okay, so that's presentation number one. Presentation number two is I will give you a topic. So now you will do research on the topic I give you, and then you will present that. So that will be something totally different than the first one. But let's see if you can take those pointers from the first presentation and come strong with the second thing that you are not that familiar with. Okay, so when you're not familiar with a subject matter, have you ever given presentations on things that you're not familiar with and you just get like a little bit of a time to prepare that presentation and go and present? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Okay. So what was your take on it? What was your approach?
I would honestly just like if it was something I really didn't really know, I would write out note cards and then practice those. If you were allowed to bring them in the presentation, I would bring them. If you weren't, I would study a little bit more.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes I would set up more bulletin or more bullet points in the presentation itself, give myself little reminders, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, most of the time it's honestly a disaster.
Okay. Now let me put it this way. So since this is a Zoom class, so of course you will be presenting over Zoom. So you could definitely use a PowerPoint or slide deck or some kind of a presentation. And you will, and always remember, this is a common mistake we see students make when they are presenting something. They write everything that they have to present on the slide. Slide is not for that reason. If you put slide is not a Word document. You don't put everything that you have to say on the slide. Slide should only have the main points, because people should be listening to you, not reading from slides, because this is college. Everybody knows how to read. So this is a disrespect to people who know how to read, that you read to them, right? So all throughout the presentation, you're simply reading the slides to the people. Instead of paying attention to them, you're paying attention to the screen. No, don't do that. Don't do that. So where do these notes go? Every slide deck software, every PowerPoint-like software has a little note section at the bottom. Put your notes there and do not read from the notes. Notes are there as a reminder. Don't read the notes to people, because then it's pretty much like You have a piece of paper and you make no eye contact and you simply read it to them. Now think about it. If I'm sitting here and I'm teaching this class and I go like this, okay, additional resources, connection to internet, Chrome or Firefox web browser, MS Word of equivalent software, Microsoft PowerPoint. You'll be like, oh my God, that's boring, right? It's boring because I'm just reading to you what's written on the screen. Don't do
So I
that.
guess so it's just like not a series of like steps, right?
So
Kind of.
whatever you do, when you're out public speaking, when you are presenting, you should have an excitement about what you're presenting. You should be aware of the content you are presenting. Present something little, present something simple, but present it with excitement, with authority. Don't just read to them. So those are some of the things I want you to work on. So if I give you a topic to work on, don't try to impress people or me by bringing in the most sophisticated details on the topic. Scale it down, talk about something simple. Now think about it like this. If you're reading on something and you have no prior knowledge and you need to consult other things to understand this context, there may be many other people that you will be presenting to will be on the same page that you were before you started reading in on this topic in depth. So maybe you want to, instead of saying stuff that nobody understand or very few people understand, break it down, make it simple. And when you start doing it, you'll be like, oh my God, these 2 paragraphs are worth 5-10 minutes because there's so much knowledge here. So take something and explain it. So once you start explaining things, that's when you realize, oh my God, this is enough for 10 minutes. This is not, I'm not doing a TED talk. I'm doing a 10-minute presentation. So try to break things down and make things simple. If you can understand something, not necessarily other people will be able to understand it at the same level. So sit back and think about it. In order for me to process this information, how much background knowledge I have. Or if I struggled to understand this stuff, then other people may also struggle to whom I will be presenting this information. So how about if I make it simple? You follow that? So that's your main thing when you will be presenting the second presentation. Okay? Any questions about this before I move to the next pages in the syllabus? Cool. I mean, like we have had people, we have this gentleman who was from Latvia. And he came up and he spoke about Latvia in his first presentation. Nobody knew about where Latvia. Do you guys know where Latvia is?
Europe.
No idea.
Yeah, where
No.
Dr.
Can't
Doobie's
remember
from.
the exact spot.
It's one of the countries that broke out of USSR. It's a very small country. Yes, yes, south of Estonia, which is also a country. So he just, I mean, like 99% of the people had no idea that that country actually exists. There's actually a country by that name. So he just, that's all his presentation was. He spoke about his country. He showed the map, where it's located, what languages they speak, what dresses they wear. Simple stuff. Somebody came up and talked about a language, their first language. A lot of the people had no idea that there was a language like that in the world. So again, you know, your first presentation, think about it, that what I want to talk about it. Time yourself. Second presentation, You see, okay, this is a complicated topic, maybe. Let's see how I can simplify it and still deliver and never deliver incomplete messages. That's another problem. People look at a problem, they get overwhelmed, and they're like, oh, I got so much to present. And then they present only half of the stuff. Don't do that. Come up with the idea, simplify it, present something small, but present a complete idea. So those are some of the pointers. And of course, since this is recorded lecture, so of course, when I put it out under the recordings, you will have this information again to go back and listen to what pointers I'm giving you about your presentation. And then you can re-listen to that stuff.